Hey everyone, welcome to Crypto Empire, where we dominate the crypto market. My name is Connor. In this video, I'll be going over the base version of Kendu Inu. I've been a long time holder of the Kendu Inu on ETH, and as well as the base version when it launched around 5 months ago. And the base version right now is getting a ton of hype and attention, and the chart is really picking up. There's also a lot of drama between these two communities on ETH and base. So as someone who has kind of seen it all from an outside looking in perspective, I want to go over my thoughts around Kendu on base and how high I think it can potentially go. So let's get into this video. So before we get into Kendu on base, I want to go over some context and background so that it's kind of crystal clear on exactly what's going on. So there are two versions of Kendu Inu. There is the base version, which is what this video is about. There's also the Ethereum Kendu, which is the original Kendu, right? This one launched all the way back here in late February, and you can see it ran up massively. And if you watch my daily live streams, you're already familiar with both of these coins as I talk about them all the time on those live streams. But nonetheless, for kind of full transparency and everything, so I did actually buy Kendu on ETH all the way back in March 6th, 2024, and the market cap was 3.87 million, as you can see here. And it did run all the way up to around a $280 million market cap. Now at around 35x gains, I did sell the vast majority of my holdings. As you can see here, I put out an update inside of the mastermind on Saturday, June 8th, 2024. The chart was going parabolic, and I said here that I took a nice amount of profits on Kendu. I'll continue to hold a moon bag, but when a chart looks like this, it is a good idea to pay yourself, take profits, etc. And buy low, sell high. This is the textbook example of it. When you catch a 35x, it ended up going around 70x, but when you catch a huge gain, you need to go ahead and take profits on that. But nonetheless, I have been following Kendu really from almost the beginning. And I've seen everything unfold here. But let's talk about Kendu on base now. So when it comes to Kendu on base, it is essentially a derivative of the Ethereum version. And we can read here. So the master Kendu by Zaki. And this guy's the dev actually of Kendu on base. Here's his X account, the founder of Kendu base. Long story short, we can go ahead and read this. But the summary is that he was a Kendu on ETH whale, and he's big into base. He realized that fees are really going to stop the scale of the Ethereum version, right? He was worried about when gas fees are hundreds of dollars per transaction, how that would kind of go with the token and the community. So yeah, he went ahead and he basically launched the derivative of Kendu on base where there are 0 fees, and that is how it came to be. All right, so he was a whale, and he decided that he wanted to launch a base version because he kind of foresaw that ETH fees would be sky high in the future, and he saw a lot of attention shifting over to base. All right, so we can read that Kendu is now taking over the base ecosystem. Now, the big thing with Kendu is they are a very, very hard-working community. That's the reason why the ETH version sent to 280 million from, extremely low. All right, it did well over a 200x from the bottom. It's because these guys are seriously dedicated to the cause, and their motto is, we don't gamble, we work. And what they mean by that is that they're constantly rating on Twitter, they're commenting, they're sharing, they're liking, they're just constantly engaging and kind of pushing this project all over the interwebs. And the same thing goes here with the base version, and you can see that it's really kind of starting to pick up here. So when it comes to this chart on the base version, this big red candle, this was on the August 5th flash crash in crypto. This was the bottom for Bitcoin as well as many altcoins, and it was also the bottom of Kendu base here. Basically, people panic sell when there's fear in the market, and that usually does mark a bottom. This thing was sideways at around a 1 million market cap since late September, and then it started its rise. As you can see here, late September, it was around a $800,000 market cap. It's currently trading at a $4 million market cap. So over 4x gains from the bottom. But ironically enough, the current market cap level at 4 million is right around the same level that I actually entered into the original ETH version here. So with that, do I think that this token has the potential to go much higher in price? I do. Let me go ahead and explain why. So if you haven't been following these Kendu projects, you're not aware of the drama between the two. And to make a long story short, the Kendu ETH people are not happy at all that the Kendu base version exists. And since this thing launched, they've simply been fudding it and talking bad about it, trying to do everything that they can basically to have it not kind of succeed. When the base version has basically just been trying to collaborate and make them realize that the liquidity is going to flow to base in the future. So yeah, the Kendu ETH team, they've been very, very negative. And more recently, they've been kind of negative to not just the Kendu base token community, whatever. They've been negative just kind of in general. And this thing, Kendu on ETH, it had a really popular dev that was always extremely bullish. Like, he was always speaking like a giga chat in all these Twitter spaces and really kind of putting life into the community. Now, as of late, the dev was completely doxxed, right? He was using this profile picture of Kendu as his face. But recently, he basically undoxed himself. And look, nothing personal here. I'm just going to be straight up. It's the classic kind of mom's basement dev, right? Where the guy looks like he just rolls out of bed and works from his mom's basement. No hate on the guy, no disrespect or anything. I'm just kind of being straight up. The reason I say this is the way he talks and the way he presents himself before he doxed. It just doesn't match up at all, right? The character just does not match up. He was actually caught selling this guy. He was caught selling the Kendu ETH version. And he was asked, like, you know, why'd you sell? And I think he was being sarcastic, but maybe not. He was like, oh, I sold to go party. We can reference the Twitter spaces, but yeah, he did say that. So I think a lot of people on the ETH community are kind of moving over to the base one. And with that, that's bringing a lot of wind in the sails over here on base. And also just the fact that base is kind of Coinbase's ecosystem, Coinbase's chain, and it will see a huge inflow. And I think people understand that as well with other large tokens on base, such as, say, Brett, running to a $1 billion market cap. People know that money will eventually flow back to base like it did earlier in the year, say in March, April, May, June, when the base meme coins were really, really popping off. So yeah, that's kind of the drama and the split in the community between the two tokens. I think it's important for you guys to at least have a base level of understanding of what's going on there. Now, me as a third party kind of perspective, outside looking in, I've been supporting both of these projects. But, you know, recently it's been just kind of super weird vibes over here in the ETH community and very, very negative. And with the dev kind of doxing himself too, the character just does not match up with how he's been presenting himself. And I think a lot of people have caught on to that as well. But nonetheless, I digress, right? That's what's going on between these two communities. Now, when it comes to this chart, it's very simple. All right, we went ahead and Kendu base reclaimed this range here at around the $1 to $2 million level. This was all in accumulation lake. You should be familiar with that concept if you watch the content here at Crypto Empire. Basically, you have a major support level. Price drops beneath that support level and just goes into a long accumulation, finding a base. Once it breaks out above that level of support and resistance, right, it's out of that accumulation lake, and that's typically when we see the massive expansion phase to the upside. And that's what we're seeing now, all right? So this thing is really moving in a market that, is kind of largely PvP still. No new capital is flowing in, but we're seeing a rotation here into Kendu on base, and this thing is getting bought up violently. Now, like I said, this thing's up around 4 or 5x from the lows, 380%, right? So very nice move. Going off of TA, this is a major resistance level at a $5 million market cap. Some profit taking up here, which is to be expected with such an aggressive move off of the lows. I like to see this uptrend continue to hold. And in order for it to do that, it just simply has to hold this trend line. All right, so there is space here if it does want to consolidate underneath the 5 mil market cap to hit this trend line again. But ideally, it does break out above this 5 mil level and go attack the all-time highs near $9-10 million. All right, I am looking for this to move into price discovery. I think that this could be a really big meme coin, judging off of the success that Kendu on ETH already had. These guys are basically using the same exact recipe and formula. on base, just kind of being more positive as well. And with that, I think that it can really break out and maybe put in a similar performance. If it even does a fraction of what Kendu on ETH does, it's a major win. Okay, so a fraction of 280 mil, I would say that would be like a 50 to $100 million market cap for Kendu on base. It's possible. People didn't think it could happen with the ETH version. It did. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like this happen for the base version as well, when the time is right, of course, when there's new money flowing into the crypto ecosystem, when liquidity is flowing, because right now it is largely PvP. But nonetheless, this is Kendu on base. You can follow them here on X. They have a parody account because the ETH guys, like I said, the Kendu ETH guys were basically just, from my understanding, constantly reporting this account, saying they were interpreting the ETH version, stuff like that. So the base version just made a parody so that, you know, they can't basically report it and get the Twitter account taken down anymore. So that's what's going on here. Kendu on base, follow them on X, join their Telegram. You can follow the dev and the founder here, Zaki, on X as well, and have an eye on this one. If it does end up pulling back, like I said, look for this trend line to come into play. And if it falls hard, you can see it back kind of from 2 to 3 million. But I would expect to see around $3 to $3.4 million hold as support for the floor here. That was previous support here, as you can see, all the way back in June. So I'm looking for that to act as support again, but realistically, this is in a strong uptrend. It's kind of started a little mini parabola, and I expect it to continue this trajectory higher and break these resistance levels. So have this on your watch list. If you're already watching the live streams, you see me talk about this all the time, both versions. But today we're only talking about Kendu base. Hope you enjoyed this video.